Is Gundam Build Fighters the best thing to happen to the Gundam anime franchise in years? Find out in my review of the final episode of Gundam Build Fighters. That is how you do a frickin' series finale. Gundam Build Fighters has completely surpassed all of my expectations for what I wanted to see from this series. Every episode was entertaining. Every character was interesting, every episode was important, and the momentum of the series never dropped. It was a full 25-episode Gundam series that never stopped. It was amazing. It is so sad to see it go, because in all fairness, I thought that the series finale of Gundam Build Fighters was more entertaining than the series finale of Kill La Kill. And I love Kill La Kill, but being a Gundam fan, I just appreciated every little thing about this episode, especially because it sort of wrapped up the story, although I do wish they would have gotten a little bit more into the background of what Aryan is, because they basically showed at the very end of the episode, and it's pretty much just inferred to be a colony in space. And that's very strange, because they rarely even talk about that in this series, even if there are actual space colonies. But still, it's an interesting concept. The cool thing about this episode is it's basically just a massive, huge 20-minute action scene where all of the main characters from Gundam Build Fighters come together with their old Gundams, their new Gundams, and they team up to stop this Arista crystal, the Plavsky particle crystal, which is slowly starting to envelop the entire stadium. And it's really cool. It's kind of like the final battle in G Gundam where everybody has to team up and use their really cool abilities. And what's great about this scene is not only does it have incredible animation, but every character does get to do something really awesome. I never thought that I would see China do something badass with the bear guy. It happens in this week's episode. But what was also really cool is the final setting, of course, was just another great callback to the original Mobile Suit Gundam. They fight against this massive space fortress, which is known as a Baoku, which is basically where they had the final battle in Mobile Suit Gundam. And housed within this thing is the Plavsky particle crystal, which they're going to have to try and destroy. Think of it as like the Death Star run from Star Wars mixed with Star Fox with a little sprinkling of Gundam right on top, and that's what you get from this week's episode. And it was awesome. Like I said, everybody got to help in this final battle. Not just Reiji and his Star Build Strike, even Sei got to use his Mark II Gundam, Niels Nilsson and his Sengoku Astray, who had this brand new hammer ability, which he was able to take out these weird mass-produced unmanned mobile suits, which look like these sort of like bootleg Gundams and Zakus. They were all like solid white and very plain looking, but it was just basically perfect cannon fodder for the final battle. There was also Mao in his brand new Crossbone Mao, which looked awesome. This is the first time that I've ever actually seen that Gundam in anime form. It's actually sort of a spin-off one. I think it's a Crossbone Gundam. I think it's a manga. I've never actually read that before. I really need to, because that is one of the coolest looking things ever. It has this big skull on its chest which just opens up and fires this big laser, which he uses to take out pretty much everybody. Hilariously enough, even like weird side characters get to join in on this battle, like Karo. She was using her Night Gundam, which is the SD version, which managed to still be pretty awesome. One of the highlights of the battle, though, was getting to see some of the older guys come in. There was Master Chinon, who is the master of the Shingyo Gunpla School, that's Mao's teacher, and he was using the Master Gundam, and he was using it in combination with Mr. Rawl, who was using his Commander-type goof. And this was one of the best scenes of the episode, just getting to see them team up, because they did this combination attack, where Rawl created this like massive tornado which swept up all of the bootleg Gundams and Zakus, and then Master Chinon got his Master Gundam and did this massive kick all the way down it and destroyed all of them, and he's firing Kamehameha blasts all over the place, and it just looks really awesome. It's all incredibly well animated, and all the artwork looks really, really good. And let's not forget, Sei's father actually gets to use his upgraded version of the RX-78 Gundam, the one from the original series, which now has a massive cannon on its shoulder and all these armor pieces on its leg. It's really awesome. It all really leads up to what you'd expect, which is Sei and Reiji destroying this crystal, and they sort of save the day. And they could have ended the episode here, and I kind of wanted them to. I'm like, well, this is good. We now got a couple more minutes to explain what Aryan is. What I did not expect was that both Sei and Reiji were going to have another battle with Tatsuya Yuki, which was such a great surprise, and it was made even better by the fact that they received pieces from their friends' other Gundams to put on theirs because they were so damaged in the final battle. So all of the friends really got to come together and combine and make their own Gundam. It was really cool at the end because you got to see the Star Build Strike had the Gundam X Mao, like weird like wing things on its arms, which could have the big beam sabers on them. It had the Feniche's arms, and it was just really slick looking. And the same thing for Yuki as well. He was able to use his Exia Amazing, which was also another callback to when the Exia was seen in Season 2 of 00, when it had the damaged body parts. It had the cloth over its arm and everything. Nice touch there. Again, they really don't skimp on the fan service in this show whatsoever. The final battle is when I really started to get the feels, when I realized that the series was finally coming to an end. But there was also a really another important thing about this whole series, other than the fact that it was basically just a big marketing ploy for Gundam. It was about the story of growth and of having confidence in yourself. In particular, the character of Sei. He's really the main character of the show. You know, Reiji's really the guy with all the flash and everything, but this whole series was really about Sei actually learning to use Gunpla the way he wants. The reason he was never able to battle before is because he was afraid of hurting his Gunpla because he was so passionate about them. He wanted them to always look so flawless and perfect. And whenever he took them into battle, they always got destroyed. But over the course of the series, he was able to sort of like grow out of his shell a little bit, make new friends, start his very first love interest, and meet a lot of really interesting people. And thus he was able to turn into this awesome Gunpla battler, just like his father. And it's sort of cheesy and crazy, but I really like that. And at the very end, this is when things start to get all, you know, Wizard of Ozzy, with everybody starting to disappear to their weird home worlds. You had Reiji, who had his weird little wrist thing, and it was starting to disappear, the little plastic particle on it. And everybody who was like involved with Aryan was starting to disappear. So the chairman started glowing red, and he began to go away back to Aryan, and Miss Baker actually jumped with him and joined him. Apparently, she really does love him. And then there's, of course, the real cheesy scene where Sei and Reiji have to say goodbye. And it's really handled well, especially when they're about to give each other a high five. And as they do, Reiji just suddenly disappears. But Ayla actually goes with Reiji to Aryan. And we get our very first shot of Aryan, which basically just looks kind of like a, you know, classy European space colony. And he's the prince of it, so you know she's going to be living well. I wish they would have spent a little more time here and maybe getting into it a little bit more, because I want to know why there are space colonies in this universe and they're not talking about it. I think it was brought up once in the whole series, and that was the beach episode with Rambaral. He just mentioned that maybe he's from the colonies, and that was it. But that's pretty much all I'm going to take from it, because that's the end of the episode. It's incredibly cheesy, especially at the end when they have all the epilogue shots during the credits where you get to see where everyone is. And I love the final bit where Sei actually has his brand new Gundam. It's a year later. He's fighting in the next tournament, and he's using the Build Strike Cosmos. Awesome name, and it looks pretty similar to the Star Build Strike, except that it has this like brand new force field ability around it that's probably has something to do with the RG system. He does mention that when he activates it, so it's like an upgraded version of that, but it looks really nice, and mostly the coolest thing about that is the name. And he claims that he will see Reiji again. He thanks him for everything. And that's pretty much the end of the episode. Bust out the tissues, because that's the end. It was a great series. After watching the entire thing, I can honestly say without any problems that Gundam Build Fighters is probably my third favorite, almost second favorite Gundam anime of all time. My number one is the original series, and my number two has always been Mobile Suit Gundam The 8th MS Team, which is an OVA series. It's 12 episodes long, and I've just always really liked that one. But this one is so different and so unique, and it could have been awful. This could have been the worst anime of the year, and it ended up being a real pleasant surprise, especially for Gundam fans. And that's the thing I want to stress the most, is this show really was made for Gundam fans, for people who've been following the series, buying the models, and because there's just, every little episode was just made for you, and you could feel the love in every episode they made. You could tell they were, you know, really passionate about it, and they were having a lot of fun with this project, and it showed because the quality was always there, the animation was always good, the characters were always really interesting, and it's just a good, wholesome series. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but some of the shows that I watch can sometimes go into some really dark territory and everything, but this is the type of show that you can pretty much show to anyone, young, old, into anime, not into anime, and they might even get something out of it. My biggest regret for the whole series is that Bandai Visual, in America anyway, doesn't really sell the Gundam DVDs or Blu-ray in America anymore. And if I ever want this series, I'm going to have to import it, and it's going to cost me a lot of money if I want to do that. But my whole initial run of watching the show was nothing but enjoyment. It's really sad to see it go. I honestly could do with another season, because they could explain so much. They could get into the whole Aryan story. They could have opened up an entirely different thing, but it looks like they just wrapped up everything. Hell, even the chairman, who's like the villain of the series, like sort of just settled in Aryan with Miss Baker selling their bootleg Gundam models. It looks like just everybody's going to be happy. Although I do have a feeling that, you know, Sei and Reiji will eventually be able to see each other again. If they're in the space colonies, there's no reason why they can't travel back to Earth and back. The series finale of Gundam Build Fighters was truly spectacular in every way. It wrapped up everything pretty nicely. The animation and action this week was incredible. All of the music cues were appropriate, if a little cheesy at times, and all of the characters have really grown on me. And if anything, the series worked. I want to go out and buy like 100 damn Gundam models right now, especially the Exia Dark Matter. Although I really liked that RX-78 version that his dad upgraded. Although I really want the Master Gundam now after seeing Master Chinon's. You see what I'm talking about? This series is incredible. It's so much fun. It's Gundam Build Fighters. And I'm giving this week's episode, the final episode, a 10 out of 10. It definitely deserves it. It was entertaining as hell. If you are into mecha in any form or fashion, check this series out. If you are a Gundam fan, this is mandatory viewing. You're going to do nothing but smile the entire time. Gundam Build Fighters, one of the greatest and most refreshing Gundam anime I have seen in years, and one of the most fun anime I've seen in general. And this concludes my review of the Gundam Build Fighters anime series. For all of you who've been joining me from the very beginning, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure reviewing this anime for you guys. The Gundam anime has a very bright future. There are a lot of other big projects in the work. Gundam Unicorn is getting ready to finish up this summer. There is another OVA that is in the works, which is all about Sayla Mass and Char Aznable when they were children and their kingdom was attacked. And there's also a brand new Gundam anime starting this fall, which looks really awesome. It's set 1,000 years in the Universal Century. So we're going back to the original timeline, so you can guess things are probably going to get a little darker than they were in Gundam Build Fighters. Still, this was a nice little journey. I loved every second of it. But I want to hear your thoughts about the final episode of Gundam Build Fighters, and what you thought about the entire series overall, and what you want to see from the future of the Gundam anime franchise. Remember guys, before you leave today, make sure and hit that like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. I'm really not joking. That is like the way to help out our videos. And you could subscribe to our channel so you could see all of our content, of course. But you can also check us out on Facebook and on Twitter. I'll put links to both of those in the description box below. So, I will see you next time, guys. Until the next Gundam anime series, Super Kami Guru 9000, out.